Hey, good morning, everybody. Nice to see you. I'm Rita Hickman. I'm body mind expert, yes, massage therapist, and I help women who are in narcissistic and toxic relationships survive, heal, get to the other side, get their life sorted out. Oh my God. As you can see, it is beginning to be winter way too soon here at the Hickman Ranch. It's a little disconcerting, I might say, that we've got the snow and the leaves not up, but it sure is pretty. Isn't that great? I know. This is why this is one of my favorite places in the morning is on top of my heater. next to Mother Earth and where you can get reconnected. So today we are talking about angels and narcissists. So I have had a lot of difficult times in my life over the years. I mean, challenging times, times where, and you have too, I'm totally confident of it, times when all is lost, the world is coming to an end. That's happened to me many, many times in my life, not because of temperament. I'm someone who really likes security, but because I am also someone who is an avid fan of personal growth. When you grow up in a tough situation, which I'm sure many of you did at some point in time, you really do reach a level early in your life where you say, you know what, I have to figure this out or I have to self destruct. Those are my options. Sometimes we get stuck for years. Women will get, fulfill what they want to be, who they want to be, of caring for family and caring for friends and playing that role. And, of course, that's totally normal. But we do hit walls, and I've hit several of them in my life. The first one was probably after my experiences, some of my traumas was junior high. That was like giant trauma. And then it was, but looking forward to high school, knowing there was going to be a shift. And then in high school, knowing that there was going to be another shift again in college. And then when in college, knowing there was going to be another shift into the first job, into all these different chapters of our lives. We honestly really do go through them. And I've been through enough of them, and you have too, that one of the lessons I've gleaned out of all of this is that when challenging times happen for whatever reason, that's the time, that's the motivation to catapult you into the next area of your life. So we're talking about angels and narcissists today. So the science backs up way too much, and I'm a science person. Even though I've studied a ton of metaphysics, a ton of indigenous medicines, there was always a part of me that was super hesitant because I had so many other things that needed to be cleaned up and worked through and worked on. But for every challenge that comes into your life, the one that pushes you to your breaking point, um, there's a bigger outcome for it. And what it can do is it can keep opening up new and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger realities for us that we hadn't recognized that existed in the past. But everybody's different. One of the super cool things that's happened lately is I've had a number of really grounded, tough, smart, intelligent women who also happen to be psychics entering into my life. It's very odd. Now, I've always kept separated that part of my life, the spiritual piece, probably because I felt that the Catholic Church had betrayed me. And I threw the baby out with the bathwater. I threw all the beautiful mysticism and the love and the metaphysics and, those bigger concepts of spirit and soul. And I totally threw them out the window because, you know what? I felt so betrayed, by spirituality, that I cut that part off for a lot. And so even though it's been super interesting to have these women coming into my life because they've had these experiences all of their lives when they were little, and they're all saying the same things. They're all saying the same things. And so here's a reframe for what you're going through. it's quite possible that this experience of dealing with a narcissist, healing from a narcissist, coping with a narcissist, in whatever situation or relationship that you're in, does have something bigger going on. And what it can launch you into is a connection with something that's bigger than you. For me, when I was in junior high struggling, the big new paradigm shift for me, the big new insight and understanding was, oh, there are some adults that care, right? And then when I was in high school, the big new epiphany was, oh, there are people who like me. There's a much bigger world outside of my little world of conflict and difficulty and pain and trauma. And, there's a big world with a lot of different people. And I got that just by going to high school. And then college, it opened up doors to who do you want to be? What do you want to do? And I could realize that there were resources that were past me, resources that were bigger than me, that I didn't have to, that there were societies and communities and groups and people that had the ability to think bigger and be bigger, and then I went just to school again, into school again, into school again. And I found every time that when my life was struggling in any way, that was the time to go back to school. And so, wherever you're at in your life, if you're listening to this and watching me, then you must have some connection with metaphysics. And even though I loved it intellectually, I didn't embody it into my life yet. I just knew so many people. But when you have stress and struggle, it causes you to reach beyond your comfort zone. It causes you to work harder. It causes you to put more things in place. It causes you to do things you would have never done before because you're cornered or you're angry or your health is falling apart. So instead of looking for answers, let's say, let's look for an expansion. Let's look for help. One of the things we're taught as women is that we're alone. We're isolated. I know it's crazy because women, we're so social. But when we end up in these abusive situations, part of it is the idea or the belief that we're alone. We have to deal with these things alone. And we can't trust people to help us through it because we've had so many negative experiences around that. Right? Right. It ends up making us emotionally isolated. But with each time we're pressured, that metamorphic rock, it pushes us to make our community bigger and make our community bigger and make our community bigger until we realize we're part of the community of all there is, everything that exists. We're part of that giant community of God or spirit or higher power, or even if it's just metaphysics, we're part of something so much bigger than us that's so complex and complicated. And whether you want to look at it from a scientific level, which I love to, about how wavelengths connect us, and then you start bringing in quantum physics and how matter pops in and out of existence, and the question of, that there's different levels of energy and what can we experience and what can't we? I mean, and I've been diving and swimming in this pool for a long time. So this isn't some crazy weekend workshop that I suddenly took. I've been living this for a while. But the shift is when we start to really trust in it. When we recognize that there's something bigger than us going on. And this is where angels or whatever, past lives or spirit guides or consciousnesses of grandmother stones, or personalities that different drums carry, or different things carry for us, or voices we hear in our head, or thoughts that we feel, or smells that we have. Let's look beyond our own narcissistic individual experience and start realizing we are part of something so much greater than us, so much bigger, whatever it may be called. But there's no doubt about the interconnection. And it's not just science that supports it. These are the things that have been around in cultures and belief systems for a long time. They didn't make it up to keep themselves calm. They made it up because they were so sensitive to the realities of what were. And then they would pass it down and pass down the stories and pass down the traditions and the rituals that were part of healing. Western medicine and science is only just now catching up about what shamans and druids and indigenous people from Australia and people from all over the world have known for thousands and thousands of years, including Asian medicine. Asian medicine is a beautiful mystical spiritual component to it. So instead of feeling stuck in that you did this is your fault, you're in a toxic relationship, there's nothing you can do, no one can help you, it's time to make the shift. And you've already been making it, otherwise you wouldn't be watching this video, right? You're ready to make the shift. The shift to realizing that you can't do this alone, you're not supposed to do it alone, and you aren't alone. You are part of something so much bigger. And whether, as I said, we call them angels, whether we call them spirit guides, whether we just call them friends that happen to show up one day, or strangers or acquaintances that we see on the street corner, or the person we always buy our coffee from, those are angels too. We're all consciousnesses, we're all thoughts, but we're not just who we think we are. We're part of something so much bigger. And I want you to consider that. So when you're struggling, and when you're in pain, and when you're hurting, and when you're angry, and when you're overwhelmed, and when you can't do it anymore, that is what pushes you into the next level of happiness and peace and connection and who you're supposed to be. Because if you're watching this, you're probably empathic and compassionate, believe in something bigger than yourself, and you're ready to break out of those bonds. Doesn't matter whether you stay, doesn't matter whether you go. The whole point is that this is here happening partially for your benefit, for you to take back control of your life and find your own happiness and start to be the light that you're supposed to be. Women are going to be the leaders of the future. It's time we started to get ready. It's time to stop playing small. And if you're not ready for that bigger role in the world, that's okay. We start by sharing with one another that we're not alone, and that we're not isolated, and that we're not part of, we're not over there in the corner with nobody that we can trust or count on. Maybe there's a lot of people we can't trust right now, but in different times or energies, you've even noticed it with the narcissist. If you're going to learn it with anybody, you're going to learn it with a narcissist. That a narcissist is not always evil. They aren't always a devious snake in the grass. Sometimes they're nice. Sometimes they're really nice. Sometimes they're overwhelmingly nice. My dad gives the best gifts. When he gives them, he gives the best gifts, thoughtful and intuitive and kind. So we have to, if you're going to survive, if you're going to be sane, if you're going to be happy and find peace, you have to look at this from a different perspective, not from the me perspective. What's happening to me? How am I being victimized? How do I stop this? How do I make you stop? But from the idea of, you know what, I need more. When you want to do more and be more in the world, it means that you have to have more resources coming in. You have to have more coming in so that you can have more going out. If you want to do more, you have to have more. Do you know how many people I have who are on my team? Oh my goodness. I have a whole team, and the team isn't like administrators and assistants. And I mean, although I do have a virtual assistant, she's a godsend. And she's not assistant. She's a project manager. She's amazing. She project manages my life. But here's the deal. You can't do this alone. And that's what's coming out of this. You have to be bigger. You have to recognize that you're part of something bigger, whether it's angels or whatever it may be. You have to recognize you're part of something bigger. This is not all about you, even though it is all about you. Okay? So here's your homework for today. I want you to spend some time looking or questioning or asking, hey, who else is out there? And listen for an answer or feel for an answer. I'm discovering that the voices in my head were different consciousnesses probably all the time. They weren't just that Rita was cracking up, But feel for them or smell for it. Your Start paying attention to the world around you in a subtler way so that you can recognize that you are a part of this flow, a part of all that is, a part of the miracle of life that exists. Are you kidding me? Sometimes people ask me, they're like, "Oh, do you find them attractive? Do you find them unattractive?" You know what? In the position that I'm in the career that I'm in the way that I'm wired, the way we work, the way the universe works is so mind blowing, miraculous, out of the box that it doesn't come down many times to attractive, unattractive. It comes down to me looking at somebody and saying, "Holy cow, do you realize what a miracle you are? The fact that you can breathe, do you know how your cells work? Do you have any idea what an octopus does?" And now let's look at tides, and now let's look at matter, and now let's look at, different realms of consciousness. Let's look at that. Let's get bigger than the small little I that we think we are, and the pain that we're in, and the struggle that we're in, which is totally hijacking. I completely understand that. It's completely hijacking on your body. Your body absolutely struggles and your mind struggles. But the way to get out is not to get smaller. The way to get out is to realize you're part of something bigger and to start reaching out to that something bigger, whatever it may be. Whatever it may be. Whatever tool works for you, whatever channel works for you, whatever meditation or music or angelic music or chanting and or juicing or walking or running or watching the squirrels or hugging a tree, whatever it may be. Recognize that it's not all about you, because we all have that narcissism thing. And when we're in pain and when we're suffering and when we're anxious, our own narcissism starts to control our choices and we get more and more isolated. In fact, this is a good opportunity for you to maybe realize sometimes what a narcissist goes through. Their world is so small and so controlled and so scary and so anxious that they literally at times are out of control. So when you're feeling this way, out of control, it's because they're very good at making people around them feel that way. And it's there to push you to find the answers that you need. And it's possible that you making positive choices, you becoming the woman that you are, you stepping into new roles, into new steps, into new activities you never did before. And you can do them in tiny little baby steps. It's totally okay, because they build on one another and then it grows and then it evolves and then the ball starts rolling and suddenly you're like, "Hey, this is cool." You know? And so if you start working on you, realizing you're bigger than you are, you have more impact than you think you do. You have more influence. You have more wisdom. You have more strength. You have more creativity. You have more intelligence than you ever thought you did. And part of it is because it's not just you. You are not you. You are part of a bigger you. So use all the yous you can, whatever they may be, from a ladybug crawling on the ground and saying hello to a channeling of an otherworldly being. Who knows? Do what you got to do to feel connected, but feel connected. Recognize the truth. And the truth, which is now not just backed up by every single indigenous cultural belief system out there that was sensitive to, their environment and subtleties, to all of the cutting edge science, all of it. Time to put down that idea that you're alone, that you can't do this, that you don't have enough, because that's the ego talking. Thinks it's in control of everything, but in reality, you've got your mind, you've got your heart, you've got your gut, you've got your friends, you've got your family, you've got your community, you've got spirit guides and beings and consciousnesses and animals and bugs and trees and plants. Oh, you're part of something so much bigger. Reach out to it, use it. It's there for you because it is you. It's your birthright. Okay. So take some time today. Reach out, feel, recognize on whatever level that you are not alone, even if it's just watching these live streams. If you think somebody else needs to hear this, please share it, pass it on. Oh my gosh. If you feel you're stuck, message me, check out with me, get in touch and somehow you can find me. I'm like everywhere. Reach out because there's support from a amazing group of women that we're working with now, that supports them. It's super affordable, that we come together for wisdom and sacred fires and coaching and connecting and information and body mind science. And I mean, it's all around the topic of narcissism and how to survive and deal and heal and cope and shift and change and evolve because of narcissism. Okay, in your life, this is the path you've chosen. This is what you're walking. And so this is a place for you to help move through this challenge that on some level is important for you to become who you're supposed to be. Okay. And even though you feel stuck and lost and small and confused and angry and hurt right now, it's one step in the path. With when you get the support and the love that you need, that's when you're able to take the next steps. Okay. So share it and reach out. And your homework, recognize that you are not alone. So I'll talk to you tomorrow. I hope you have a great day. I'm going to enjoy looking at the snow and talk to you later. Bye.